Hello and welcome back to the Royal Trap. After we reach our earlier campsite, the princess rolls down her silk stockings and bathes her feet in the cool water of the stream, while Oscar hunts for something suitable to feed her. He eventually settles on more asparagus and a few wild berries. Except for our surly captive, the scene is peaceful and pleasant. Oscar's fondness for plants and sunlight has led me to spend many days in surroundings such as these, watching him enjoy himself. I know the powers of Guellanor must be in great turmoil after our disappearances, and we ought to return as soon as possible. And yet, no one seems compelled to hurry. What are those called? Ranching Asphodel. Asphodel? What a pretty name. Then she blinks at a glimpse of fast-moving colour overhead. And that's a peacock butterfly. Oh! I know every contour of my country, but from the map I've studied it looks so different to see it for myself. While those to explore the local wildlife, Callum stands alone, his eyes on the rippling reflections that cross the surface of the stream. What will our return mean to him? He'll have to confront his family again while still bearing the painful memories of his last attempt to reach out to his sister. He's no longer a helpless child, and the king would find it difficult to thrash him even if he were so inclined. Still, challenging those who have held power over you all your life is never an easy task. And then there's the person who's least enthusiastic about returning. Hey, how about you just let me go? You got your princess and your gold and I've got nothing, so it's no harm done, right? Not a chance. I've got nothing against you lot. Untie me and I'll get gone. You'll never see me again. That's why you're staying tied. Soil's Brett, do you know what they'll do to me? Traitors hang! Maybe you should have thought of that before turning on your masters. Didn't do nothing you didn't do first, and them's your own family too. You carried off your sister, you plucked your own treasury and coshed the little prince, and you lied to him and her both. You half-choked the life out of me, and you call me a criminal? Come on, Lady Valise, do you really trust him not to drop us both if he sees his chance? It's my life on the line, just let me go. You have no right to talk about lies after the games you played with me. What games? Oh, she doesn't tell you. Nobody tells you anything, do they, little prince? Your girl bribed me to break into a noble's rooms. Maybe she's a thief, huh? Let me go and I'll tell you what she said about you. I'm not listening to you. No one cares to hear anything more from you. Oh no? Funny that. I thought you wanted to know what was going on in your palace behind your back. I see things you hadn't or your sister neither, and I can tell you about them. That Duke and his Lady Sophie, for instance. Do you know what they're plotting? Cousin Sophia, what about her? She doesn't know anything. I do, and I can tell you if you let me go. The word of a known liar is meaningless. Ask your own questions, you'll see. I'm not one for telling lies. I've played you fair, I've kept my promises. And what of your oath to serve? Ugh, that. Look, do any of you really want to go back to that place? You set foot inside and you'll be trapped. They'll never let you see the sun again, princess. And you, prince criminal, you think they'll forgive you for what you've done? You've got your freedom and your wits and a good sum of coin. You could start a new life altogether. The words do hold some truth to them. With such a sum of gold as that, I could buy a land, house, connections, enough to outfit and support myself while I built a place in society, enough even to make investments to sustain my position for the future. It is not, of course, enough to establish me as anything other than what I am, a gentlewoman of low rank, respectable perhaps, but not among the highest circles. And yet it would be sufficient to grant me what I never had, an estate of my own. But that would only be the case if the funds were mine in total and in truth, and they are not. Some of us have a concept of honour. Oh, come on, do you want to be nothing but what you are forever? This is your chance. Come with me, any of you. I'll see you straight. That is enough. With a discarded bit of silk, he gags Dolores, ignoring the nipping fingers and frantic squawking. We probably should stop on the way back. If you've rested enough. I'll be fine. You can lean on me if your feet hurt. I will assist her. We all will. The The walk back to the Palace of Guelinor is not so great in distance or in difficulty, particularly now that we do not require such secrecy and may make use of the roads. However, the new additions to our party cause our progress to be a great deal slower than a simple reversal of our original expedition. Neither woman can keep up a fast pace, although for entirely different reasons. Princess Cassidy struggles on bravely despite her sore toes, but her entire life up to this point has been living in a glass bubble. The novelty of sunlight, open air and wildflowers is wearing thin. She has no strength, no endurance, and must frequently stop to rest. The page Dolores, on the other hand, has no intention of making this easy for us. She must be prodded and dragged or slung bodily over Callum's shoulder in order to move at all. As we continue our slow journey, Oscar falls in beside me. What did she mean? What did who mean? That page. What did you say to her about me? I didn't say anything about you, Oscar. She's lying. She's trying to stir up trouble. She knows the only chance she has to escape is if she can get us to fight amongst ourselves. Right. Sorry, I don't mean to be all sulky. It's been a rough couple of days, you're entitled. You should go talk to Cassidy. This is your best chance to build a relationship with her. You're today's hero, remember? You called that page when she would have escaped. And you're her guide out of here, telling her all about the plants and animals, so raise your head up high. Thanks, Maddie. And he hurries off to do as I've suggested, like he usually does. Oh, poor Dolores. It was a good try, but she never had a chance. Oscar would never turn against me. As we near the palace, we catch sight of a figure in the distance. He's wearing the uniform of a soldier of Guelinor. Of course, they must be sending out search parties by now. Hola, guard! The guardsman draws his sword and approach. He must find our appearance suspicious. One missing princess, 2 princes who should be in the palace under lock and key, and 2 servants, one of whom is tied up. I suppose we do look a bit suspicious at that. Declare yourselves! Callum and Cassidy of Guelinor, Oscar of Oswindar and his companion Miss Valaise, and our prisoner. It's all right. They're rescuing me. Are you injured, my lady? Just a bit sore-footed. I don't suppose you have a horse? I would be happy to assist you, my lady. He comes closer and offers her his arm. But he hasn't put down his sword. Die, imposter! And everything happens at once. Cassidy is frozen in place, uncomprehending. Oscar's eyes open wide as he realizes the danger is too late. Callum was already moving, but he was standing 1 step too far away, and I see Dolores lurching past me, still bound, driving her shoulder hard into Cassidy's form, knocking the princess off her feet and out of the line of the guardsman's strike. I take the same tactic, but apply it in the opposite direction, snapping a vicious sidekick to the guard's ribs. His armor pads him from any damage, but it drives him back and away from his target. With a quick pivot, I restore my center and draw my daggers. I rush him, both blades flying rapidly to charm against his sword, forcing him to withdraw even further in order to regain the advantage of reach. He feints, then sweeps for my legs, but my lack of armor stands me an advantage here. I leap over the strike and swipe at his eyes. I'm not close enough to connect. His head jerks back by instinct, keeping him on balance. Now he's angry. He brings his greatest strength to bear against me, overwhelming blows that make the daggers ring in my hands. This is no sparring match. I can already feel a burning line across my arm where I failed to completely guard 1 slash. I come in close again, trying to pin his sword, but I've miscalculated. The guard's heavy muscular knee slams up hard into my unarmored midsection, knocking the breath from me. Spots swim in my vision. For a moment I can only bend over helplessly and bundle. But I have another advantage which he does not. I am not alone. As the guard raises his sword over my head, Prince Callum charges in, catching the guard's arm mid-stroke. Using his weight and leverage, he flips the man onto his back and then pins him down with 1 knee. Die! He raises his hand and slams the side of it hard down into the soldier's throat. No! This time, it's too late to stop him. The crushed neck cannot be undone. What? No, don't look. He pulls Cassidy away, leaving only Callum and myself to view the guard's dying struggles. As breath returns to my aching body, the guardsman loses his forever. We should have questioned him. He was an assassin and a fanatic. He made no attempt to hide his target. He couldn't possibly have expected to get away cleanly. He intended to attack until he was dead. He was one of your guards. He was in someone's pay. Probably Duke Forod. You! He directs that shout at Dolores, whose thighs gagged and bound on the floor, but as she fell after knocking Cassidy aside. Did you know about this? She can't answer you like that. Ugh, fine. He holds Dolores to her feet and then fastens the gag. Of course I didn't know, you cockhead. How would I? You reacted. She did protect me. She only did that to try and save her own skin. Sure, and wouldn't you? I don't want to die. I don't want her to die, and I don't want anyone to die. You remember that, Your Highness? You remember who's a killer and who's not? Is that man really dead? Yes. I see. Waving Oscar and Callum aside, she kneels beside the body and lays one trembling hand upon its chest. I'm sorry. May your rest bring you peace. No matter what they've done, I would not wish for anyone to die. He would have killed you if he could have. If his master had equipped him with a rifle and crossbow instead of a sword, we might not have been able to stop him. We should hurry. We could send someone to pick him up later. We need to get you to safety. I'll do my best. So, what the hell is going on here? After a brief, intense journey, the familiar stone walls loom before us. We cluster tightly together in case of unknown dangers in this final hurdle. Callum in the lead, sheltering Cassidy behind him. Then Oscar, then Dolores, and finally myself. The princess should be visible enough for our group to be granted passage without argument, but a sniper shot at us should be blocked by one of these two men. As for Dolores, someone has to keep an eye on her and make sure she doesn't try to run. She appears to have accepted her fate, but I wouldn't trust her not to turn on us at the worst possible moment. We reach the front gates this time. Callum's bellowed greeting is met with a chorus of hails, and a full company of guards charge out to surround and escort us. Even then, our heightened nerves do not allow us to relax easily, but the soldiers make no aggressive moves. They cannot even ask for details of how we came to be in this situation, but move us swiftly into the safety of the building. There, we have to give our accounting to the King of Gwelinor. So how much truth are we going to say? Inside, the guards suddenly call a halt. Royals this way, servants that way. What? Maddie stays with me. I mean, Miss Valois. Only one of them is a prisoner. We have orders, Your Highness. Your parents wish to speak to you urgently in their private chambers. It would not be appropriate for those not of royal birth to be admitted. Their statements will be taken later. I suppose... You won't let that one worm free? Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on her. They will be guarded at all times. Oscar looks at me and says nothing. Cassidy draws herself up to her full height. Very well, carry on. Dolores and I are herded into a room to await His Majesty's pleasure. Your weapons. What? Orders to avoid accidents. Indeed, another guard is already poking and prodding at Dolores to ensure she's carrying nothing at all dangerous. I, at least, am spared that indignity, but I am made to hand over my daggers. After that, the guards take up positions outside the doors, preventing us from exiting, but otherwise leaving us alone. There's nothing for us to do but stare at each other and pace. I can only imagine what must be happening with the others. Will Prince Callum rage at his parents for having kept him in the dark all these years? Will he be punished, or will the newfound sibling bond between him and Cassidy serve to mend all ills? And what of Oscar? He could demand reparations for the assault in the garden if he chooses not to take Callum's side. Blast it, I wish I could be there. While I'm making wishes, I also wish for a cool drink and a warm bath. Sleeping in a forest does not suit me. Pardon? You could at least untie me. You're a prisoner. Oh, come on, what am I going to do? Knock you over and take on an entire palace guard by myself? I just want me hands free, that's all. My fingers hurt. Ugh, screw it. So you've got nowhere to go. I'd ask you to promise you'll behave, but I've seen how seriously you take your roads. If it's like that, then I don't want your help. No, I'll do it. I struggle a bit with the tight knots, but eventually I have her free. She shakes out her hands, cursing under her breath, and scrubs at her face with clumsy fingers. Her eyes meet and then hold mine for a moment, but her will is weaker than mine and she soon looks away. Why did you do it? Do what? Betray your masters. Why not? You had a good position here. Better than someone like me deserves, huh? Don't think I haven't heard that every day of my life. You're somewhat unusual for a page. I know that now. If I'd known it then, I'd have run for the hills and Malak's the king. What are you talking about? You want to hear this, lady whatever? I'm a foundling, dropped off on a doorstep and raised with the other dogs. I've no idea who my people are. Charity brought me up, and that in the street. So I learned a few letters, eating dirt and picking pockets and washing shirts. House girls, sometimes somebody wants a servant. Nobody important, of course. We're not good enough for that. My background would certainly explain her speech and manner. What is she doing here? As she said, an orphan peasant would rarely raise higher than some merchant's back kitchen. One day, this fancy lady in all good clean clothes comes to the house. She says His Majesty wants to look good, do something nice for the scum of the land. One of us little insects gets to go off to the palace and live the life of luxury, and they pick me. They clean me up, give me new clothes, best meal I've ever had, and I think I must be dreaming. Then why? Why would you betray them? You got all the book learned, but you're still as dumb as a stone. Enlighten me. No. Why bother? I'm over the long drop. No one would care I was ever here. So you think about it. Maybe you'll learn something. Or you forget. It's no difference to me. You're not going to die. You want Princess Cassidy to your side. She'll speak for you. That's no guarantee. Nobody is exactly what they look like. Perhaps so. Rarely is this seeming entirely false. But Cassidy has shown herself to be a very forgiving soul. Dolores pulls out a chair and sits down. Then folds her hands on the table and lays her head atop them, closing her eyes. What are you doing? She doesn't answer me. Oh, fine. I suppose there's really not much that we have left to say. She's rough and rude and manipulative and disloyal, and we are too different to ever understand each other. I choose a seat where I can watch her at a safe distance. I'll not allow myself to relax. There's nothing to do but wait. At long last, the door is opened, and a stern-looking pair of guards march into the room. You are under arrest for the kidnapping and assault of Cassidy, Princess of Guelinor. Madeleine Valais. Wait, what? This is a mistake, isn't it? It was Dolores. Aren't you supposed to be arresting her? No mistake. I glare at Dolores. You'll say something. She shakes her head. No surprise. Why would she incriminate herself? Will you come with us, or will we have to carry you? And what about her? None of your business, but she's to see the king for her reward. Oh, how is this possible? I don't know how she's done it. Somehow, somewhere she's played us all for fools. This isn't over. If you've harmed Oscar in any way, you will wish that they hanged you. That's enough out of you. Strong hands seize hold of my arms and begin to pull me away, but I keep my eyes locked on hers. She says nothing. Nothing at all. What the hell is going on? When I was a little girl, my favourite book was Tales of Spirits, a collection of stories penned by the late Comtesse de Barneville. Not all were about fairies or magic, but most were about adventure. Brave young shepherdesses frightening the wolves away from their flock, handsome tailors who won the hearts of lonely princesses, knights and dragons. And then there were the darker tales, stories intended to frighten children into obedience. Those were the stories my mother read to me. There was the story of Tomba the Troll Slayer, who celebrated his victory over one monster with dancing and feasts, until he collapsed with exhaustion, and then the troll's mate returned and cut off his head and used it as a drinking cup. Or the two brothers, who met a witch in the woods and promised to watch her chickens. One kept his promise, and the witch gave him a handful of jewels. The other was distracted and ran off to play, and the witch turned him into a slug and fed him to her birds. Or the story of Apsaline, the little girl who fell down a well. Instead of using her wits, she cried and cried and cried, until at last she drowned in her own tears. These are the thoughts in my mind as I stand at the dungeons of the Palace of Guelinor. I don't scream, there's no one to hear me, and it wouldn't make any difference. I don't cry because there are better uses for my strength. Patience. Not escape, not yet. I need to know more about what's going on before I try anything along those lines. The guards may not be entirely incompetent, and a failed attempt would only land me in greater trouble. Therefore I wait. I think about the mysteries I'm faced with, and about revenge. Dolores. Who is she really? Certainly not just an orphan peasant girl. I recognized earlier that she had to be someone's agent. In all the confusion over Callum and Cassidy, I let that thought slip my mind. Weakness. I shouldn't have been so distracted. And to think I almost felt sorry for her. How did she do it? How could she turn the situation around so completely? Did she convince one of the others to betray us? Or did her benefactor step in and save her? Callum, Cassidy, Oscar, where are they now? Are they alright? What are they doing? Do they know what's happened to me? Did one of them order this? What am I going to do? As dungeons go, my current environment is not so bad. It's certainly far more pleasant place than the tunnels which Prince Callum led us through. The windows let in a bit of light and enough breeze to carry away the worst scents. I can even catch a few glimpses of green. The metal bars are strong and firmly set. This is not a way out. Still, a hand can easily fit through these gaps, and that does present possibilities. The view behind me is less picturesque, but it's acceptable, and I have space to move around, and that space is largely dry and relatively clean. The bed even comes with a rough blanket. It's more comfortable than where I slept last night. But now is not the time to sleep. I need to be ready to catch every clue, so that I can plan. It's so quiet in here. There's no one but me. What if no one ever comes? I am staying calm. I am prepared. Oh, I can't wait here forever. Oscar might be in trouble. I must do something. Footsteps. Maybe now I'll get some answers. Maddie. Oscar? I thrust my hand through the bars to guide him to my cell. Are you alone? Are you alright? What happened? I don't know. They split us up. When King Frederick finally came to talk to me, he started saying that I misunderstood the situation. Because of course Prince Callum didn't kidnap his sister, and apparently that servant didn't either. They're off limits. Saving face. Politics, of course. Never mind that Prince Callum hated his parents enough to rob their treasure and kidnap his sister. Never mind that Princess Cassidy's life was in very real danger. Never mind that the King and Queen have been mistreating their son and daughter for years, lying to them and keeping them apart. First priority of the crown is to protect itself. Callum abducting Cassidy would be a scandal, so they claim it didn't happen. Things have gone too far to dust away the whole situation. Everyone in the palace knows that Cassidy was missing. At least a dozen must have seen us return. King and Wisdom have to admit that someone laid hands on the princess. That blame should have fallen on Dolores. She was, after all, guilty. But for some reason that I can't divine, it seems the king has other ideas. There can't be blame, so someone else has to be. And that means you and I. Yes. I don't understand it. Callum, sure, the royal family doesn't want to be embarrassed, but Paige? She's nobody. Apparently not. So what's the official story? They said if I didn't agree, they'd have you executed. Just tell me. The story is that you were behind the whole thing, only you. You wanted to make me look like a hero, and I knew nothing about it. Blaming Oscar, after all, might cause an incident between the two kingdoms. So I'm the villain. What is it then? Flogging? Branding? Thumbs? No. I would never let them do anything like that to you. Well, good, because I don't think I could let them do it to me either. They need your sounds to pass their fiction, don't they? So what do they offer? You have to stay here in the dungeons till we leave. Then once you're out of Guelinor, you never come back. That's all? Well, they also want you to confess in public. That way it doesn't look like a cover-up. But it's good, because once they've proclaimed that you're just banished, they can't change their minds. It'll be okay. That's right, isn't it? You'll be safe. It's not even a real punishment. I know I wouldn't want to come back here. It's certainly better than being tortured or killed, but not a real punishment? All his parents think when we return to Oswindar. They too have reputations to protect, and the full weight of the scandal will fall upon my shoulders. I don't believe they would harm me, especially not with Oscar to speak for me, but I would by necessity be cast out, unemployed, unemployable. Not one of my ideas for supporting myself would survive in such circumstances. Oscar can't see it. He's so pleased that he's protected me and saved me from a horrible fate, that he doesn't realise what this will mean. What else can I do? The Crown of Guelinor is determined to make me a scapegoat. I have no leverage to convince them otherwise. I could attempt to escape and flee, but what would become of Oscar? Even if he ran away with me, the scandal would follow us. I will not give up all hope, though. At least if I try and take the blame, then Oscar will be declared innocent. And if we return safely to Oswindar and his parents are grateful for what I've done, perhaps they'll have me quietly pensioned off. I can't risk losing that by fighting a useless battle. Until I find some other card to play, I I must submit. You're right, it's not so bad. I'll visit you all the time. I'll bring you books and food. No. I let go of his hand, stepping back from my cell door. You can't. I'm supposed to be the evil villain, remember. You're the innocent victim. I betrayed you. If we're going to do this, we're going to play along with their fiction. We have to do it all the way. Otherwise, we lose everything. You have to pretend to be angry with me. You have to stay away. I can't just abandon you. Yes, you can. It's only for a week or so, right? I'll survive. We both will. Whatever you do, you have to take care of yourself, and you have to stay safe and out of trouble. I won't be there to clean up after you, right? Just don't get any wild ideas about poking around and solving mysteries. Maddie, you go on now. Don't leave them waiting. Tell them I understand and I agree. Fine, I'm going. I can't see him, but I can hear his footsteps slowly retreating. There's a little voice in my head screaming at me to beg him to come back, plead with him not to leave me here alone in the dark. But there's no point in screaming, and I'm not listening. Time slips by, unmarked and unknown. Having obtained my submission, the forces set against me are in little hurry to make use of it. Instead, they're busy setting the scene. What is politics, after all, but theatre? Only when the audience is in place am I summoned to deliver my lines. The presentation hall of the Kingdom of Gwelinor is not so different from that of my homeland. They're both places that people gather to see and be seen, to make proclamations, to apply the combined force of centuries of tradition to all that occurs within. If I were at home, the crowd of nobles in attendance and hangers-on would be freckled with familiar faces, friends and rivals alike, come to witness my humiliation. Here, the knowing eyes are fewer, but I cannot escape into anonymity. After this, everyone will remember my name. Madeline Volez of the Kingdom of Oswindar. You stand here today accused of high felony against the Crown of Gwelinor. You have subjected our rightful heir, the Princess Cassidy, to assault and false imprisonment. Where is Cassidy anyway? I don't see her in this crowd, nor Callum either. You have inflicted physical harm upon your master, Oscar of Oswindar. Duke Ferred, he's there, watching me through narrowed eyes. Prince Gaston and Prince Nozaki as well. You have acted on your own and against orders in the pursuit of your own glory and brought shame upon your country. I noticed that they're not accusing me of murdering the guard who left outside the gates. Do they even realise there was an assassination attempt? It'd be nice if they used some of their resources to investigate the actual threats to the crown. Signing all the blame to me will make it that much more difficult for them to bring charges against anyone else. Unless that's the idea, allow their enemies to feel more secure in the hopes they'll overreach. It's a risky game to play with Cassidy's life. And then they haven't asked for my opinion, have they? What is your answer to these charges? I admit my guilt and await His Majesty's judgment. There is a brief outburst of curses and condemnation before King Frederick holds up his hands for silence. As Miss Valais is not a citizen of Gwelinor, she cannot be given the full penalty for treason. She was also admitted to our lands as an honoured guest, and is entitled to certain protections of hospitality. An ugly murmur starts to build in the crowd. They've heard what I've done, and they don't like the idea that I might get away with it. Thanks to the heroic actions of our son Callum and the page Dolores Humphrey, Princess Cassidy has been safely recovered. It is our belief that the greatest harm done in this affair has been to the Kingdom of Oswindar. Oscar. I can see him standing away with the wisdom, his face turned away. Therefore, we will honour our relationship with that kingdom. The criminal will be kept in chains until such time as she can be returned to her homeland. There, she will receive whatever punishment her sovereign ruler sees fit to assign, as is his right. Oh, clever. They managed to make it look as if they're doing Oswindar a great favour, while at the same time putting pressure on them. I'm not so paranoid as to believe that the entire affair has been so arranged to bring about this outcome. Neither I nor Oswindar is important enough in the scheme of things to be worth so much effort. No, this is simply the result of a great game of politics. A skilled player never lets any opportunity to gain slip by unnoticed. Unfortunately, my current position leaves me little in the way of opportunity. Either way, that to me seems like a pretty good point to end this video, so I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next part.